Hi, I'm Liz, and today I'm going to be presenting on a really interesting group of immigrants who came to America for a whole different reason than what we've been talking about in class. We're going to be talking to you about the Vietnamese immigrants who came to America. And why the reason was so different is because they left not so much for opportunity as to escape the turmoil that was happening in their country. The year was 1975, and it was the fall of Saigon in Vietnam. And what happened is the northern Vietnamese, who were communist at the time, overtook the South. And so once the South became overtaken, there were a lot of people who wanted to get out, specifically American troops who were over there fighting in the Vietnam War, were getting out by air and sea as quickly as they could, and with them they took southern Vietnamese refugees. Once in America, the Vietnamese refugees were placed in refugee camps. They were scattered across America, but a large population of these camps were concentrated in California. And in these camps, it was mostly set up like tent cities. The Americans didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for the Vietnamese arrival, so we had just tent cities and cots, but within the camps, the refugees were clothed and they were fed, and they were actually taught to speak English as well. Now, how the story really gets rolling is very interesting and kind of just a mix of chance and luck. What happened is one day in one of the refugee camps in California, it was called Hope Village, and an actress who was also doing some relief work with the Vietnamese refugees named Tippi Hedren came to visit Hope Village in California. And as the actress met with these Vietnamese women and started to talk to them, she realized that they were educated and they just really wanted help getting work. And so, feeling inspired, Tippi decided to speak with her own personal manicurist. At the time, he was a man, and at the time, only really, really rich people could afford manicurists. So Tippi had her manicurist meet with these women and began teaching them about how to care for nails. So that was the beginning of these Vietnamese women's story and kind of the impetus for their immigration. And now we're going to hear more about how this ethnic niche has really evolved and turned into a huge industry in America and across the world.
So, as Liz talked about the migration of the Vietnamese fleeing Saigon and coming to America starting in about the 80s. Once they arrived in California, and as Liz talked about with the tent cities, these enclaves in Southern California began to grow. And as these enclaves began to grow, there's actually a region like a Chinatown. Instead, they called it Little Saigon, and this is held in Westminster, California. And it was here where the women began, with the influence of Tippi Hedren, began to start doing manicures. So manicurist isn't something that's brand new in today's world. Back then, getting a manicure was only for the elite, costing, upwards of 60 plus dollars depending on the manicurist and your status. It was usually seen as an elite thing. And then when the Vietnamese women came, they totally undercut the elite ideals and started making manicures at a lot cheaper, $10, $20 for a manicure. This made it so that everybody could get one. And this also, they essentially made the invisible market, because by having this just abundant presence in California, they made it easy for anybody to get a manicure. It wasn't until 1999 when the Advanced Beauty College was formed by Lynn and Tam, two Vietnamese brothers and sisters who were entrepreneurs. They saw a business idea. They went ahead and formed this college. And this is also a unique point, because this is when the number of Vietnamese manicurists that were registered in the state of California actually surpassed the number of non-Vietnamese manicurists in the state. And from 1999 till present, this is when the number of Vietnamese manicurists just skyrocketed. And the thing is at this school, this was really a place where Vietnamese women could come. They could, by migrating to America and enrolling in this school, they were legally bound to remain in the United States, and they didn't have to worry about legalization. So by doing so, the classes were the professors were bilingual, so they were able to teach classes in both English and Vietnamese. So they were able to help the women be educated in English and be proficient in English, so that when they graduated from the school, they were able to, have a business, be able to communicate with their customers. Anywhere from housewives to high school girls, they could all get their nails done at a very affordable price. And then this also just brought the demand of needing more and more manicures. So by being able to fulfill this need, it's kind of been a very niche market. With further research, we also see that the school still does have classes with the bilingual characteristics. So, if women still are coming from Vietnam or are in the States and they still haven't learned English, they can take classes in both Vietnamese as well as English. Some of the things that they have, some of the fields they have are cosmetology, cosmetician, a massage therapy, holistic health practitioner, and of course manicure.
So since we already talked about what the early immigration looked like and why they immigrated, we can look at what this looks like today. The Vietnamese still make up 11% of the Asian labor force in the United States, and they have more than any other group in personal care and service, just because they still do take up a large percentage of nail salons. As we discussed before, they have about 40% of all nail salons, which is the largest group in it. Interestingly, these groups are still immigrants, because as of 2006, less than 1% of the manicurists are born in the United States, so it is largely an immigrant practice. More today, this niche is expanding across the country. It started heavily in California, but now even in states where the Vietnamese aren't as large of a portion of the population, like in Massachusetts where they're less than 0.7%, they're still associated with manicures. So it is spreading across the United States despite it having started on the West. Interestingly, it is also now expanding internationally. So you call them nail bars in Britain that whose owners started in the United States or had relatives who started in the United States that they learned the practices from. The Vietnamese are also taking larger roles in the nail care industry in the United States by becoming owners of businesses that sell supplies to the nail salons, So they are taking a larger role in the nail care world and have created a large niche for themselves in that area.